What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. We're gonna be playing some Oxygen Not Included today. This is one of like those very hotly requested games that I just never got around to playing. It wasn't that I didn't like the game. I love everything that Clay does. I just didn't have time. And honestly, the game was too complicated for me to like sit down and learn to play it and give you guys a satisfying experience. Well, I played about 20 hours over the weekend and actually found myself being really addicted to the game. And so I figured I would bring you all along. We'll do a little short series just to kind of fill in some time and show off a title that hasn't had a chance to be on the channel yet. Now, there are things that I don't know how to do inside the confines of the game, and I did that on purpose. I know how to get a colony up and running safely every single time. I know how to get to like mid-end game, but I haven't played around with any type of like hydrogen piping or anything like that because I wanted something to be fresh and something that I had to struggle with in the series. And so I purposefully, once I got to that point in the game, did not learn how to do it so that I can just kind of muddle my way through it and it'll be fun. You guys can be like, haha, he's so dumb, he can't figure it out. But everything else should be fine. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get ourselves some colonists. I don't even really care, so I'm just gonna like randomize them and then we'll go through what they are. So here we go. Ooh, he's kind of bad. He's not very good at all. Oh well, we gotta live with it. We gotta live with it. I said I was gonna go random. So we've got Nicola. You kids are too young for that reference. Never mind. Is Ricola even still a thing? They don't even do the commercials anymore. When I was a kid, there was Ricola cough drops, and they had like this dude up on a mountain with like a big horn thing, and he'd be like, Ricola. That was the commercial. It's weird how you remember commercials, right? We've got Nicola. He's a level 3 architect. Pretty decent skills in medicine, athletics, construction, and creativity. His decor expectations pretty low. He's amphibious, so he moves as quickly underwater as he does on land, but he has gastrophobia, so he's afraid of cooking, so that skill point is going to be wasted. He once claimed he could build a laser so powerful it would rip a colony in half. Nobody asked him to prove it. That's cool. We've got Nails. That's a pretty badass name right there. That's a pretty dope name. One of my favorite DBZ characters is Nail. I always like Nail a lot. She's a quick learner, so she gets plus 5 to learning. That's going to be what you want to do for research. She's also really good at building stuff, so she almost gets 200% construction speed. Unfortunately, she has a bottomless stomach, which means that she loses calories faster, and so she has to eat more frequently. People often expect a duplicate named Nails to be tough, but they're all pretty huge wimps. There's that many duplicates named Nails that you've actually got like a correlating general experience where they aren't tough. All right. May. She's a level 5 scientist. She's a pretty bad garbage character. I'll be honest with you. She is not very good at it. Their stress response is ugly crier, vomiter, and destructive. In general, you want every single person in the colony to have ugly crier and vomiter. And the reason for that is because later on when you run out of water sources, you can use vomit and crying. And so you just make them stressed all the time and they'll cry and they'll vomit everywhere. And you'll be able to gather water that way and then purify it even though it's polluted. And then finally with May, there's nothing May can't do if she sets her mind to it except for every skill in the game. God, what are you talking about? She's got diver's lungs, which means she does not consume air. She holds her breath a long time, which is probably good because I'm probably going to suffocate everybody. And then she's the exact opposite of athletic. She's anemic. She needs a little bit more iron in her blood. We need to name our place. It's going to be the nerdiest of baronies. Oh, no, not banneries. Baronies. There we go. And then we'll embark. Alright, so the general idea of the game is that you have these colonists and they've been teleported from God knows where to God knows where, and now they're inside of an underground complex that they've got to dig around in and survive. In a lot of ways, this game is like Factorio, or a lot of the random production manager games where it's all about managing inputs and outputs and making sure pipes are flowing the right way and stuff like that. As you would expect, that means that I pretty much suck at this game, but I have built a couple of successful colonies. The first thing I like to do when I drop on in is to look for algae supplies. Now, this algae supply is a little sketchy because it's around a body of water. And there aren't really a whole lot of other algae supplies. This could be a rough run because it means we're not going to be able to rely on a lot of the things that algae affords for us. However, we do have a lot of metals around. Doesn't really matter. The only time metal matters is when you don't have it, but when you have too much of it, it doesn't really help out. So not having any really hurts, but having a ton doesn't really help. First things first, we're going to start mining out an area for ourselves to live and getting some of the basic algae and whatnot stacked up so we can have them for the future. I'm a little dubious on this right here because occasionally water will leak through and break tiles. And so I will more than likely wall this off and put an airlock over here just in case it decides it wants to leak. What we'll want to do is we want to start looking for our water supplies as well. Now, obviously, this one's a good decision. In fact, I'll probably do it I'll probably do a precipitation drip to get this to work. And what I mean by that is I'll probably pipe this down to this chamber. I'll probably widen this chamber out and make it into a big old reservoir. I'll drain this one into here, and then after I get done with that, I'll drain this one into here, then drain this one into here so that we have all the water on that side of the map in one spot to make my life a little bit easier so that we're not constantly having to organize and reorganize our water supply. Because rerunning piping, playing with pipe all day long, it really should pay better because it's not that much fun. I don't enjoy playing around with the piping, and so we're just going to leave that by the sidelines for right now. Just leave it by the sidelines. I play this game on 3x speed. If that bothers some people, I can't help that. I can't do anything for you. I like playing the game on high speed even when I make mistakes. Now, you do have a little bit of a timer in the early game. Because I've played a bit, I'm going to talk about this for the people who haven't played the game yet. You've got this stone called Oxylite. This actually breathes oxygen into the area so that you've got a little bit of a buffer zone. It's kind of like the carrots and berries in Don't Starve. It gives you a little bit of barrier in the early game so that you can keep yourself breathing. In other games, the berries and the carrots would be so you can keep yourself eating, because Don't Starve is a game about not starving. This is a game about not suffocating. And so this will make it so that we've got a little bit of air, and there's a little bit more Oxylite up above. The pressure differential up here is in equilibrium, so these aren't actually leaching air anymore. That's a really good thing, because it means we're going to get the maximum duration out of this Oxylite right here. So in total, we have a little bit of raw metal. We've got not very much organic material. My suggestion would be that we dig a shaft downwards right here. And I'm just going to have that go to right there. And then, in addition, I'm going to make our first little chamber down here. And it is going to be our bathroom. And so we'll put that right there. We're going to start digging a latrine over here. They should start picking up the sandstone and building crazy Egyptian ladders out of hunky chunks of stone. The hunkiest chunks of stone. You could put them on the front of a teen magazine. That's how hunky they are. They are super hunky. That's a word nobody uses anymore. That dude's a hunk. Nobody... A hunk of what is always my question. Like, if it's a hunk of shit, that doesn't seem like that great of a correlation. If it's like a hunk of candy bar, that sounds amazing, though. I do love candy bar. Love candy bar. They are delicious. I will probably mine this away right here, too. They probably aren't going to have to use the bathroom today, but they may have to use it tomorrow. As you can see, it's telling me that the colony requires toilets. We may want to keep this up and running over here, too, because that's going to be a free supply of food for the next little bit. Yeah, keep that ladder going downwards. Is this carbon dioxide down here? What is this? Okay, so that's carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is heavy, and it always falls. Well, it's heavier than oxygen, and so this game has a sorting system for the various elemental compounds, or the various chemical compounds that'll be in the air, stuff like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, hydrogen, oxygen. They all have their respective weights. Oxygen and hydrogen tend to be the lightest in this game, whereas carbon dioxide and polluted oxygen tend to be very heavy, so they fall down to the bottom. This actually makes life easy because you can actually set up receptacles to catch the stuff that you want to catch. We don't have a whole lot of oxygen options right now, and since the game is called Oxygen Not Included, it looks like we've got a randomly generated map that in fact is going to take us to task on this. I normally run very high algae strategies in the early game, and the fact that we don't have enough algae to do that with means that I'm going to have to play a little bit outside of my comfort zone right now. This should be very interesting. So they've all got a sore back debuff right now. That's going to be due to the fact that they had to sleep on uneven ground. I don't know how much deeper I want to dig. Like, do these guys have to go to the bathroom yet? I can't tell if they need to go to the bathroom, but we should probably set up some outhouses or something. I would love to dig this a little bit deeper, but I don't know if we have the time to do it right now. So we're going to go to our plumbing menu. We're going to grab the outhouses, and I'm just going to put in 2 outhouses. And this should actually be a fairly decent solution, because what should end up happening here is that bathrooms, I think, output carbon dioxide. Bathrooms tend to be kind of stinky. They got to put some dirt in there, obviously. You got to put your little... You know, actually, it's easy to make an outhouse. Outhouses are pretty easy to make. A compostable outhouse is not a terrible task. You just use sawdust. And so if you know anybody that does any type of carpentry, sawdust actually works really well because it dehydrates the material that goes in there. I know this is gross to talk about, but if you take one of these outhouses and then you dig it like however many feet deep, we actually use chemical solutions nowadays, and the chemical solutions that are inside of like a porta-john or whatever, that's why it stinks so badly, is because the poo and the pee and all that kind of stuff, it mixes with the chemicals and it smells bad. But if you use a sawdust solution, it actually works out pretty well. You take part sawdust and you take part sand and you throw it down in there, and because it dehydrates the material, it actually has trouble being very stinky, And what it'll do is it has like a kitty litter mechanic where it'll turn into a lump. And if you keep a tray underneath it, I've seen this with like hippie communes and whatnot. We have a lot of those in California. They used to be a lot more common. They're not quite as prevalent anymore. When I was growing up, there was all kinds of nudist colonies, and California was a lot weirder when I was growing up. I'll tell you that right now. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to get all this algae. California used to be a weird, weird place back in the olden days. It's not so much anymore. A lot of that weirdness seems to have moved either around San Francisco, Berkeley, some of it up north to like Humboldt and stuff like that, but a lot of it's actually moved out to like Seattle and Portland. A lot of like the really, really odd kind of eclectic stuff. But it used to be all over the place around here in California. There was a nudist colony about 4 miles from the town that I grew up in. They had a big 11-foot wall around it. They had like 200 people that lived out there. It was just a big like 1960s style nudist colony. Like, you never saw anybody naked or anything like that. They didn't leave or anything like that. They just kind of stayed inside their little commune and did their thing. But, yeah, it existed out there. I'll probably chisel away at that. I'm in a desperate place for algae right now, so I'm just going to go in on it. I don't have a choice. If I can wall this off right here, I'll be able to collect all this algae around here. I think that'll give us roughly, like, maybe 10,000 kilograms, which will be enough to last a little while. But it won't be enough to go the distance. He's going for speed. Dude, I love Cake. Cake is like one of my favorite bands. You guys have no idea. I have all of their albums, and I love each and every one in its own way. Cake is one of those bands that you can just like jam out to, but it's like Windows Up music. Like, you never admit that you listen to Cake. If you can help it. You'd be like, oh, I don't listen to Cake. I don't know what you're talking about. What do I want to do now? Well, let's tile this area. Make it start looking like a home. I think that's a reasonably decent place to start. We'll take this over to here, so we've got a little doorway right there. We'll take that down like so. I'm going to use this as the main shaft throughout our base. I will build that right there. That should give us 2 tiles of fluid retention, which I think is what you need in order for it not to leak and flood. If I end up draining this water chamber into my base, it's going to be a tiny bit upsetting. But I think I can make it work. And so they'll get that done right there. I'll probably set up the tile job on this side as well. This is going to have to go up by at least 1 more in order to work. We've got plenty of oxylite left, so I'm not going to stress out about our air supply just yet. I'll wall that in too, because I want everything to look good. And then from there, we also want to think about having containing walls to start running piping and things of that nature through. Actually, don't do that. I need them to haul that algae first. Then what I'll do is I'll put a storage container right here. And we'll say that that's only for algae, so that they'll start hauling it, and I can get a good idea of how much algae we have. As of right now, we've got 5,500 organic kilograms. None of it is polluted dirt. It's all algae. So that's good. You might be asking yourself, what is algae used for? Mostly ecological builds. Things like oxygen generators, things that deal with the atmosphere inside of your base. Those are all going to require algae in the early game. However, that's not going to be a sustainable model because every single map only has a certain amount of algae. And to dig to this stuff over here, it's surrounded by slime, which means I'm going to be releasing polluted oxygen. Every time you dig slime, it puts polluted oxygen in the area. We also don't have any of these little guys right here, hatches. We want to have hatches. If we can contain hatches inside of our base, they're actually super useful because they will eat dirt, which you're no doubt going to end up with a stupid amount of. And when they eat the dirt, they end up turning it into coal. They eat dirt and they poop out coal, which is very useful. The next thing we're going to want to do is we're also going to want to start to get research underway. Now, I am going to be, you might wonder why I'm not going to be taking duplicates. You want to keep the population of your base as low as possible for as long as possible so as to limit the amount of drain you get on your resources. You can explode your duplicates out later to like 15, 25 when you're ready to like die or whatever. But in general, playing the game with 5 to 6 duplicates is kind of the equilibrium point where you can keep everybody alive and you can actually recycle things and survive a long period. And so if I don't instantly click up here, because as you see, if you click on this, it says in a half a day, I'm going to end up with a new duplicate. We're going to get a little symbol right there. I'll probably take us up to 5 duplicates, but I'll probably stop there just because I don't want to overdo it, and it's generally accepted as a good practice to not overstock yourself with population because it makes your map last a lot longer. I am going to drop the shaft right there a little bit harder. They're picking up a lot of the algae that's over here, which means that once all the algae's been picked up, I should be able to take this and build a little, I guess, floor. I almost said road. There's no roads around here. I can build a little thing right there that'll make my life easier. We probably want to get an electrical system going, a very basic one. I'm going to put in 2 of those. Those are going to be manual generators, basically an overglorified hamster wheel. I'm going to put in a couple of batteries, and I'm just going to daisy chain this because this is temporary anyways. This is not a permanent solution. So I'm not going to worry about efficiency and making this run properly. I'm just setting this up 100% Jimmy rigged for right now so that we can get research going. And there it is. We've run a little bit of wiring, so if you enjoy that little aspect of SimCity 2000 gameplay, you can do that. But what I really want is a research station, which I'll be able to drop right there from our stations menu. And then we'll take a electrical wire, and we'll drop that onto that side. And once we've got a little bit of some of that power line laid, we'll be able to stand out among the crowd, even if I gotta shout out loud. And that is the only thing. It's me. Dude, that was a legit pop song. I'm not even gonna hate. For like a song that was built into a movie about the Goof Troop, like for real, that song was going. That song goes hella hard. I bump that song to this day. I'll be moonwalking across the kitchen, my wife just like face palming and shaking her head. That song goes. She can't hate on my love of Goofy movie though. We're gonna go with farming as our research first. That's gonna give us the algae terrarium, which eats carbon dioxide. It's gonna give us the compost heap, which breaks down polluted dirt, which is incredibly important, and then it's gonna give us the planter box, which is also importante. As for our next duplicate, let's take a look here. We've got Ban He, who is a professional runner. Good athletics, good strength, good warrior, good tinkering. Twinkle Toes, so very good athletics, and then gastrophobia, cannot cook. We've also got Ruby, who's a bodybuilder, basically the same thing. She's got flatulence, which means she farts. It puts polluted oxygen into the air, which can be fun to deal with. And then we've got Narcoleptic on a character who can cook and who can do athletics. I will take Ren. Both Ban He and Ren are good choices, but I'm going to take Ren first because I don't think I have anybody that's a good cook. And so there's number 4. And we'll probably keep it right there for now. We also want to isolate our jobs. I don't want anybody doing research that isn't good at research. So we're just going to remove those people from the list. Now, managing your job priorities in this game is not as important as it is in, like, RimWorld, for example. But you should definitely designate who should be doing what tasks. Otherwise, you'll just have people running all over the place doing dumb stuff all the time. But I tend to assign the tasks as I get them. Are these ready for harvest? These are harvest ready? Well, don't... Yeah, go harvest those. Put those on... Yeah, put those on harvest overwatch. I mean, that's free rations. I swear to God, if you build your guys into the ground, sometimes they'll, like, seal themselves in. In general, the AI seems to be pretty smart about it, but occasionally they will do something stupid like entomb themselves. And it's like, well, what are you going to do? We got this little carbon dioxide pocket down here. Are you guys not going to finish that? You guys should really think about finishing that. Oh, it's because it's blocked right there. I see what went wrong. Okay. Gotcha. I just had to see what was going wrong. He doesn't have room, so he can't get over here to actually finish it. Oh, good. A bunch of dirt fell. That'll make my life easier. I enjoy sand slopping all over the place and getting in the way. Where was it decided? Was it Terraria that decided, or Terraria that decided that sand would always fall downwards? What was the first game that decided, like when you're playing in a voxel setting, that sand always falls downwards? I need to know this. It should be one for the gaming history books, right? Because that's kind of like a, I don't need that many ladders, so I'm going to click the little, there we go. Cancel that on out, and then I'll dig all this metal out. We've got actually a nice little coal bed right here, too. And so it might be worth pushing to finish falling asleep with carbon dioxide all around you. Probably a mistake. Probably going to hurt in the long term. We'll start working on this carbon dioxide in just a minute. That research needs to get done before we're going to be able to do anything about it, though. They harvested all that stuff. I will probably leave the remainder. In fact, let's just make this a little small chamber. And what I'll do is I'll put a little door right here so that they can get after the... Oh, it's stifled. Never mind. They don't have the air supply they need over there, so we'll just floor this whole thing in. We got a free harvest out of it, so I don't care. And what they're going to need in order to get this done is scaffolding. So we will take scaffolds up like so. Like every 2 spaces so that they can get the ceiling put in. Otherwise, they'll never get it done. I can't build a ladder right there because there's a plant in the way. Oh, good. It fell down into our water supply. That's always good. And then we'll take all this, and we'll do a little bit of excavation. It should be looking purty down here. I'm going to try and get all the level 1 researches done first. There's no particular order. Research in this game goes pretty quickly, so it doesn't really matter what order you do it in. I would prioritize by map. But in the beginning, we'll do gas piping next so that I can start putting oxygen throughout the base. We've only got a little bit of oxylite left. We're going to need to push out some of this carbon dioxide down here. We can get air scrubbers if we can get hydropower and hydro solutions up earlier, but I think that's kind of like a middle long term. If you see them with their little cheekies puffed out like that, it means that they're digging while holding their breath, and they'll have to run back to an area where there's air. It also increases their stress level as far as I know. It means they've got to get back to the nearest air pocket and like get some air back into their system. So there it is. Our little construction job is moving along as expected. As far as long-term priorities and things I'm looking into doing, I do think that tapping into hydropower is probably going to be the most important thing that we can do in this play. The way that I want to do it is that I'll probably build a wall up to here with a pipe that runs all the way down and then starts draining into here. We'll also do what we can from this level to widen this out and make it a little bit larger. Good. Our research on air ducts is done. Gas piping. We'll get liquid piping done next. Some piping hot research all nice and ready to go. The nice thing about keeping your colony small as well is that there will be a lot of jobs to get done later on, but for right now, our workforce should be more than robust enough to deal with any of the changes we have going on in the future. They'll be able to mine that out. Well, there you go. Not too bad. They'll probably not be able to get that one right there, but everything else should be cool. I should probably get them a little dormitory setting all nice and made too. But frankly, I'm lazy and I don't care about their comfortable sleep. You know, that's not something I'm going to concern myself with for right now. We'll also queue that up. Once that's been queued up, we'll go through and we'll grab all that remaining algae right there. All of that remaining algae. This oxylite will mine itself once it runs out of density. And then we should be pretty good. And once it runs out of mass, I guess would be the better term. Falling sand over here just causing problems. Sand drops keep falling on my head. But that doesn't mean I'll stop digging. I'm not dead. Gotta get algae for oxygen scrubber so we don't breathe dioxide. And we do have, we do have that option now. I hesitate to do this, but we kind of need to. And so this is going to use up our algae supply pretty aggressively. We also don't have access to water for right now. So what I would do is I'm going to make a little access way over here so that we can get to water, because that's going to be important. We'll mine that out right there, because they're going to need to be able to... What is that right there? Fertilizer? Don't dump that into our water supply, please. I don't recall if fertilizer releases anything hostile for now, but these actually function using algae and water. And so until we get some water, we're not going to be able to make those function properly. I would recommend to speed up... No, that's not what I wanted. I had the wrong thing on my clickinator. I wanted to go like that. We'll prioritize that so that somebody goes down and does it. The priority system has 0 to 9, with 9 being the most important. So if you're trying to get them to do an important task like right this second, you should probably set it to 9. And so there it is. They're going to start siphoning off a little bit of water from here. They're going to put it on the algae scrubbers. And we need to be careful about this, though. We don't have that much algae. And so the only reason I'm doing this is to clear out the carbon dioxide pollution that we have down in this area. As soon as we get that under control, we'll start doing something else. The oxylite is officially gone, so I'm going to put in a gas permeable tile right there, right there. I'm going to cancel this gas permeable tile. I like to keep all my permeable tiles like in the same spot, but yeah, we'll put in gas permeable tiles so that the oxygen that we're generating down below can go upwards, because oxygen rises in this game. We've got a low concentration of breathable oxygen over here. This should get better with time, and then we'll slowly migrate this over to the right. We'll break these down and move them over just to clear out all that carbon dioxide, because I don't like having it around, and that's going to be the end of, I think, our first episode of Oxygen Not Included. My name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me here at the Nerd Castle for the first episode of a game that I've neglected. Like, it's one of those games that I've always wanted to have on the channel, but I just wasn't, like, good enough at it to feel like doing a satisfying series was something that was in the cards, and so I never did. Now I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on how this all functions, and so we're going to play a short little series here. If you guys end up enjoying it, then by all means, leave me lots of comments, likes, and everything down below. Express your interest in this series. If it turns out people don't like it, we'll go do something else. That's the nice thing about having the channel the way that it is right now, is that I can vary up the content very quickly. If you want to get the game for yourself, you can get it down below through the description link that I have for you. And if you like what I do here on the channel, consider supporting me through Patreon. It's a great way to keep the channel up and alive and flotationing. I will see you all later. Hi to everybody.